This episode is brought to you by Mortgage Workflow Partners and the Mastering Encompass series, both for users as well as administrators. You can find out all the information about it over at masteringencompass.com. Also, if you'd like to check out what we're doing on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel using the @MasteringEncompass handle. And make sure you stay up to date on all the information, not just with podcasts, but also video content that we bring to you as often as possible. Now let's get on to the episode. Hi everyone, Larry Bailey here with Mortgage Workflow Partners, bringing you another weekly market news update. Today is November 11th, 2024. A sincere thank you to all of our veterans for helping us keep the country the way we have. We really, truly appreciate your service, and thank you very much for everything that you do. This information is also brought to you by the Mastering Encompass platform. Please make sure you head over to masteringencompass.com and checking out all the information there to understand how to leverage the best possible thing that you already pay for, which is your Encompass platform. If you truly want to understand how to leverage it as an administrator or as a power user, we've got things to do that can help you do that. So let's get into this week's news. This is going to review the week of November 4th in review. As expected, the Federal Reserve cut the interest rates that they use, which is the Fed funds rate, by 25 basis points or 0.25%. But keep in mind, home prices continue to gain, as continued in September, albeit at a slower pace than earlier this year. Here's the main stories we're going to be going through today. The Fed cuts rates by 25 basis points. The next story is understanding seasonal housing and appreciation trends. The next story is continuing jobless claims hit a 3-year high. We've got a family hack of the week in there, and then also what to look for this week. The week of November 11th. So the very first story is Fed cuts rates by 25 basis points. Probably missed it in the news if you weren't watching for it because obviously the election was going on. Fed's new easing cycle continued last week as they cut the benchmark Fed funds rate by 25 basis points, bringing that to a new range of 4.5 to 4.75. This decision was unanimous and followed a 50 basis point cut the Fed made in September, which brought only one dissent. It's important to note that when the Fed does cut rates, they're reducing the Fed funds rate, which is not the same as mortgage or even long-term interest rates. The Fed funds rate is a very short-term rate, literally a rate that's only good for overnight. Banks use this as the rate that they lend money at to one another, but it's also the building block for all interest rates. So there you go. Bottom line in this story, of course, is the Fed's decision to cut an additional 25 basis points ahead of pausing shows their continued confidence that their dual mandate of price stability and maximum employment is in balance. In his press conference following the meeting, Fed Chair Jerome Powell addressed concerns that the progress to tame inflation has stalled, while the latest core personal consumption expenditures, that's a PCE, showed annual inflation was at 2.7% as of September. Powell noted that if we annualize the last 3 and 6 months of readings, the core PCE would be at 2.32% and 2.28% respectively, which is closer to the Fed's 2% target and in line with what the Fed wants to see. While Powell did not commit to any specific actions in the Fed's next meeting on December 18th, investors are still expecting another 25 basis points cut at that time, with a pause coming at their meeting on January 29th. However, expectations may change in either direction as the economic data presents itself. Here we go into the next story, understanding seasonal housing and appreciation trends. CoreLogic's home price index showed that home prices nationwide rose 0.02% in September, and they were also 3.4% higher when compared to September of last year. CoreLogic forecasts that home prices will fall 0.1% in October and rise 2.3% in the year going forward, though their forecasts always tend to be conservative. ICE, formerly known as Black Knight, also reported that a national home value that rose a total of 0.14% in September after seasonal adjustments, with their index showing that home prices are 2.9% higher than a year ago. Bottom line in the story is fall usually brings less competition in the housing market because families with school-age children tend to be settled in at this time ahead of the new school year. While this season is typically the softest for home price growth, these reports show that appreciation remains healthy overall, and homeownership continues to provide wealth creation opportunities. Here's this next story. This is all about continuing jobless claims hitting a 3-year high. The number of people filing for unemployment benefits for the first time rose by 3,000 in the latest week, as 221,000 initial jobless claims were reported. Continuing claims rose by 39,000, with 1.892 million people still receiving benefits after filing their initial claim. This marks the highest amount since November 2021, as continuing claims have now topped 1.8 million for 22 consecutive weeks. Bottom line in the story, gang, is that while initial jobless claims have remained subdued, continuing claims are the real story. They've been trending higher as employers clearly have slowed down their pace of hiring. Generally, companies tend to stop hiring, which keeps people on benefits longer, before they start firing, which keeps first-time filers tame. And this also explains some of the dynamics of the data. This sentiment was also echoed by ZipRecruiter. That's an online recruiting platform. You put your resume up there. Employers post jobs there, things like that. When they reported third quarter earnings, where they noted that, quote, by several measures of this is one of the most prolonged or more prolonged downturns in hiring activity, close quote. If you're looking for a family hack of the week, something to do, fall's obviously the perfect season to make this easy and delicious butternut squash soup, courtesy of All Recipes it serves for. If you're listening to us on podcasts, thank you very much. Head over and check out the video over on YouTube using @Mastering Encompass, or head over to Mortgage.community and check the video out there. You'll see it about this time. You can match it up and check out the family hack of the week for that recipe on screen. Here's what we're looking for this week, gang. We have a key inflation reports will make the headlines when October's consumer and producer price index are released Wednesday and Thursday, respectively. We'll also see an update on the latest jobless claims on Thursday, and October retail sales will follow on Friday. So hopefully this information has been good for you. We've actually seen an improvement in mortgage interest rates over the last couple of days, so fingers crossed that trend continues for all those that are out there. If there's anything we can ever do to help, let us know. And thanks very much. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.